Mm.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold on the Fun Ideas podcast, and today I have a special guest to talk with us today about the world of animation. It is Anthony Kotorac. How are you, sir?
Well, you got my name right, so I'm feeling really good right now.
Not to butcher it, coat rack. Oops.
No, no, it ain't that butchered.
No. Well, welcome to the show. Um, so you and I met through Camden Spees, which is how I meet a lot of different people, and it was because we've done a couple commentaries together on various Looney Tunes, and you're trying to do all 1,000 Looney Tunes,
Yep.
which we'll talk about that in a bit. But before that, just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got interested in the world of animation.
Oh, it's a long story. So sit down and we'll I'll see if I can get through it. So, look, I've always loved animation, right? So, when I was little, I grew up with Wonderful World of Disney. Yes, we had that in Australia, and we eventually had Cartoon Network in the, I suppose, mid to late '90s. It took us a while to get that sort of stuff, and we actually shared the broadcast from Singapore of all things. So yeah, I was into animation. Then when I went to high school, I still liked animation. I still watched whatever Pixar was bringing out at the time, Toy Story 2, and that just says how old I am, I suppose, being in high school in 1999. But I did move back from animation that little bit, because, well, girls, it's typical high school stuff, studying and all that. But when I went to university, I studied Bachelor of Arts, and I realized I got buyer's remorse. I don't really like this course, but I'm so close to the end, might as well finish it. And I discovered Jerry Beck's and Will Friedwald's book about the Looney Tunes. And I think you probably have it, right? Yep,
Yes.
that's the one. Yep, that's the one. Exactly. It was in the library. And the biggest shock for me, and I actually got to tell this to Jerry, which was himself, which was absolutely thrilling, was like they made 1,000 of these, give or take. Like when I was growing up, we would have only certain cartoons at the time. So I would have I think I had a 6-volume set of Tom and Jerry. I had one of Bugs Bunny, one of Roadrunner, and one of Daffy called Daffy with an exclamation mark. I had that VHS. So I'd watch that a lot. And Cartoon Network would show a few other ones I didn't see, but then that was it. And I thought maybe there was maybe 100 of them, but I didn't realize it was 1,000. And then I'm looking through the book and in these all these reviews, I thought, wow, I got to really look at some of this stuff. And it was around this time that not only did you have Disney coming up with these beautiful 2-disc special editions of they had Tarzan, Dinosaur, Snow White, the Platinum Edition, putting aside the transfer, which was horrific, but the treasure trove of extra features was incredible. And of course, the Disney treasures were coming out around that time. And I was at the right point where the second wave was coming out. First wave was starting to get scarce, so I picked up all of them. I was just going to do animation, but I thought, you know what, I'll get them all, and I'm glad I did because I love Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett was pretty good. I was actually very surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And then not long after, the Looney Tunes Golden Collection came out, and it just blew my mind just how beautiful it looked. Yes, transfers now look even better, but back then on a regular CRT TV, it just blew my mind. And all those special features, which we even put in the Disney Treasures to shame in that front. And ever since, I've been collecting, watching more animation. And with the advent of the internet, of course, watching more and more of it, buying more of it, and streaming now. Now I've got my own media server where I've ripped everything now and put everything in my own little server. It's a nice little obsession I've got. Let me put it that way.
So you
just
do your
just a
own.
little one.
Based on that, you do your own podcast, which forgive me, I've done it twice, but I forgot the name of it. What's the exact name of?
So it's Anthony's Animation Talk. It was supposed to be actually a placeholder name because I couldn't think of anything, but it just took off. Originally, I was thinking of calling it Antuni, like Anthony Antuni or something, but then I realized somebody else had that name, and it was actually a real name. So I'm like, whatever. Anthony's Animation Talk actually is to the point. That's what it is. And that's it. So I just stuck with it.
And why Looney Tunes? Is it because of Jerry Beck's book, or is that your first love, or both?
It's definitely the book. That was a big part of it because that got me, as I said, back into animation. And I just wanted the challenge of it. See, originally I was doing them as pure audio commentary. So from start to finish, I watched the cartoon, give my observations, and of course historical facts. And for the longest time, it was fine. Warner Brothers were seemingly happy with them. They were clearing them on YouTube because I would upload it, they'd block it, I'd get it reviewed, and they would do it. And so it was going fine up until I was finishing, I think, 1946, where their lawyers decided to try and shut everything down. And so I said, look, give me a week and I'll clean it up. So what you're going to see on there now, the only audio commentaries there are the public domain ones, but I'm reworking those old tracks into reviews now, which is the stuff we're doing. So from 47 onwards, I'm done them as reviews. And honestly, I think the content is a lot better for it. It allows us to breathe a bit, talk a bit more. Yeah, I have to edit more, fine, but it's still a lot of fun. But going back, seeing some of the old stuff I did as commentaries, first of all, seeing how dry I was when I first started. Hey, I was practicing, I got to start somewhere, right? But now I can look at some things with new insights. I recently redid Porky's Hero Agency. I didn't realize that there was one statue in there with the name. And I thought it was just a funny little joke. But then I looked up even further, and then it was actually the name of a 1932 pre-code Western movie. Who knew? So I'm adding stuff like that. So these are revisiting things. The irony is, as much as of a pain in the, water legal work to me, it's actually I call it a blessing in disguise. I can't be bitter about it forever. Just move on and get it done.
Now, doing 1,000 of them, I mean, you've only called me on to do like some really good ones. We did Robin Hood. What was it called?
Rabbit Hood.
I was going to say Robin Hood. I was trying to think of Robin Hood Daffy, and I go, wait a minute, it's not that one. It's Rabbit Hood.
Not yet.
And then the Three Bears one, what was that one was called?
Bare Feet.
Thank you. And then we did the Little Red Riding Hood one, which, you see, I'm terrible at titles. It's like I've watched these cartoons endlessly, and I may know like 3 of the actual titles.
Oh, no, I totally get it. It's one of those things.
My question is not the titles, but have you gone through all the Boscos and the Buddies and everything? Or are you starting with, I did. I haven't got a hat? Okay.
No, I didn't. And so here's my theory, and you call me crazy, but here's my theory. I figured no one was going to watch Bosco Buddies reviews up until I would start doing the Tex Avery stuff. And as predicted, my channel did take off after I started doing those. But I figured, you know what? I'm going to practice on these shorts that no one will even care about or know about. And then I can work on doing like 100. I did like 100 of them before, because I haven't got a hat is pretty much the 100th, right? So it allowed me to practice. And then, of course, it's Windblown Hair, by the way, that one you were thinking of before that you couldn't remember the title of, Windblown Hair. But yeah, all of them, even the notoriously offensive Going to Heaven on a Mule. That's all of them. Good, bad, and in the case of that one, really ugly. So I figure it's the whole history, warts and all. Just get them all done. It's a challenge.
Now, how did you get your copies? I'll tell you how I got all mine, but then I want to know your story.
It's a mixture of everything. See, the cool thing was, and this is why I'm loving doing this channel. When I started, I had to unfortunately torrent a lot of them, which is naughty me, right? That's the only way I could do it, because some of them were just so obscure, and no one else. I didn't know anyone either. I didn't actually have any friends to discuss animation with. We have other interests, me and my close friends, but not animation. So as I started doing the channel and people started noticing me, they started reaching out to me saying, hey, I've actually got a better print of this, I've got a better print of that. And my good friend whom I spoke to today is from the Netherlands, Fox in a Fix. Hi, Fox. He's been a huge help in getting a lot of this stuff together for me. So some places I can't really say where I get them from, because if I say it, then no more stuff will get released and so on. But the bottom line is that people have reached out to me, and because they want to see my videos do well, and they want me to have the best stuff available. And that's where I pretty much get it from the help of the community.
I'm just curious. I mean, I will tell you my story now. I mean, my story is, as a kid, even I wanted to see all of them. And when it wasn't this Jerry Beck book, the Looney Tunes one that I held up, which I'll hold up again. Looney Tunes and Merry Penalties. If you don't have this book and you're an animation fan, get this book.
Yeah,
And
100%.
but it's the other one that he did, which I didn't bring up here, is Of Mice and Magic. That was the one that first listed like virtually everything that was released theatrically in the United States from 30 to 1970, roughly. I'm,
Give or
being
take.
approximate. Yeah. And I go, first of all, wow, I didn't know every studio made their own cartoons. Second of all, wow, I didn't know there's so many. And then over the time, I just thought, because of the nature of television back in the 80s, I'm never going to see all these. And also there were ones I had seen that I couldn't see anymore, and I was going, where am I going to get all these? And then finally, of course, tape collections and DVD collections. When those golden collections came out, by that point I was a good friends with Jerry, and I kept saying, are you going to put them all out? And he goes, we're going to try, but I knew by the time he got to volume 5 and 6, it was pretty much, that's it. And I'm like, ugh. So they got about, what, like 350 of the 1,000 out, something like that,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I don't need them in pristine condition. I just want to
Just
see them.
something.
Yeah. And I'm not getting any younger, and I went the bootleg route. I could have done the torrent route, but I didn't know about that as much 7 or 8 years ago. I guess that's when it was. I'm sure it existed, but and I kind of wanted them on disc. And there was this company that offered full series of a lot of stuff that wasn't on DVD, and to this day still isn't on DVD. And I think that they're probably out of business by now. But so I can't.
My daughter's joining me. It's like, sorry, that it's public holiday today, so they're like, yes, big muscles. Sorry about that. All right, kids, I'm recording now. Okay,
you're interrupting my podcast.
All right, my kids, Lily and Jack. I do apologize for that. But yeah,
well, I
just
appreciate
excited.
you doing it early. I was like saying, I didn't know when you wanted to do it or whatever. I just at the same time when we were doing our audio recordings at other time. But anyway, to finish my story, so I bought like things that still haven't been released to DVD to this day, and probably won't anytime soon. Like the Fantastic Four series that Hanna-Barbera did, because it's tied up with Disney now, and who knows. And I'd have to think hard about other ones that I bought. I got Rough and Ready, which for some reason isn't out, and different everything. But the key one that I wanted to get, but it had a price tag of $300, was all 1,000 Looney Tunes on 52 DVDs. Now, it gave samples so I could see what the samples looked like, and the quality was generally pretty good. Now, since once I did buy it, I did eventually buy it. It was a big outlay for me to do $300 all at once, and I don't like doing that. But I said, I'm making an exception to this. I'm not getting any older. At the time, I'm 55 now. I think I was about 50 when it came out. I said, I'm not waiting until I'm 95 to see all these Looney Tunes. I want to see them now. So
yeah, exactly.
And I don't care if the quality is subpar. Now, in general, I would say probably 90% of them are of average to superior quality. Average meaning they might have a Boomerang logo in the corner or something like that. Very few, maybe less than 50, are really, really downright bad shape, where it's like it just looks bad, and fortunately a lot of those were the early Buddies and Boscos. I don't think there's many of the later ones, which I was very relieved, because my goal also is I wanted to see every Bugs Bunny cartoon, because I didn't think I'd ever seen all of them, and I was right. There was a few, and they weren't really dirty or whatever. It's like sometimes they pull them for that's questionable material because it's racist, or it's this or it's that. No, there's just some they just don't show, for whatever reason. And, they're not brilliant, great cartoons, so they don't qualify for a golden collection. So they're just kind of like the average cartoon. I mean, they might show it on Cartoon Network, they might show it on Boomerang or something like that. But I wasn't not wanting to sit there with the VCR just taping all this stuff, trying to get the one cartoon I'm missing out of the whole series. I was willing to pay money. fact, even before I bought the bootleg set, I was thinking I would pay up to $1,000 for the complete 1,000 Looney Tunes, and this is like kind of like hint hint, and I even send emails to Warner Archives when they're putting out a lot of stuff, and like hint hint, I'll pay $1,000 for this. It's $1 a cartoon,
Yeah,
and I figured if they put it out that way, then the collectors like us could get it, and the people that are offended by such stuff, well, they don't need to know about it.
exactly. They're not going to pay $1,000 just for little cartoons, and
Yeah. So when
for
I
sure.
got the opportunity to get it for 300, I said, I'm going to do this. And so, I sat and watched it. It took a while to do it, because, I mean, unless you're not paying attention to zip through it, probably took me close to a year to actually sit down and watch them all, because
Yeah,
you can't oversaturate yourself, but I liked it. It was chronological. I should have taken notes though, because one thing I noticed watching them chronologically, which was chronological according to, yes, again, this book, um,
yes,
is you notice, this is the first time that phrase appears. This is the first time they did that joke. This is the first, not just the first appearance of a character, it's the first of different things. And you kind of see how it evolves and everything, and none of that is not all of that is listed in this book, and so I should have done that just for my own sake of mind. And also when you watch the Golden collections, they just put like a collection of Bugs or a collection of Roadrunners, or they
yeah.
don't, and there's no historical chronology to it at all.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And they only did that because of, as far as I'm aware, the first Golden Collection was just you can use whatever recent masters were done, I think for Turner or whatever it was, and it was like just get it done, right? And then it was only after the success of that they started to rethink which ones to remaster next, and they finally then remastered them HD, which they used downgraded for DVD, but at least they'll preserved for the future in HD and all that. But yeah, the history of the Golden Collection is very fascinating. If you go to the Bugs Bunny video guide, it's crazy. Just how much it took to actually get the set out there. They could have had something while Chuck Jones was still alive. Imagine if he did a few commentaries, but that was like a sadly missed opportunity there. But what can you do,
Yeah. So, now that I've seen them all, I can see why they haven't released all of them, but
Oh, yes.
but the
But
one thing I noticed as far as people who are offended by racist images or anything, stereotypical images or anything, let's see if you know this. Which director had the most of those?
the most racist cartoons,
Yeah, of the 1,000.
I'd say Friz Freeling would be,
Bingo. Yeah.
yeah,
And it wasn't necessarily because he's the director longest. He just happened to do that. I don't know. I don't want to accuse him of being racist or anything. It was just that there was more material like that in his cartoons, and I don't know
just
why
general
that
ignorance.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just general ignorance on his part.
Yeah.
I figured something like Going to Heaven on a Mule, which he did direct. I think for something like that, it was just a case of, well, we make fun of everyone. We make fun of the Jews. We make fun of the the Indians, Native Americans, whatever they, so why can't we make fun of the black culture here? Like that would be his thinking, as wrong as it is. Yes, that would have been the thinking, and so I don't think any of it was malicious. I think it was
No, I
just
don't think it was
ignorant and
intentional at all.
ignorant and just misguided. And as you point out, yeah, he did perhaps did the most, because I think it was around 1945 or so, cartoons would slowly stop having the African American stereotypes, and only two directors would continue with it. Would be Friz and Tex Avery.
Yeah.
In cartoons after. Like I just did Which is Which. That's going to come out on the channel very soon at the time of this recording. And that's I'm assuming that's one of the bugs you probably maybe didn't see on Cartoon Network, or at least uncut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a wide variety of reasons certain cartoons didn't appear. The big thing when I started paying attention closely was in the 70s is I don't know what they showed in Australia, but did they have like a weekly or even a daily, but a weekly Bugs Bunny show. It was here called the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. Or
They did. I know that on free-to-air television, we had the Porky Pig show, complete with that beautiful Chef's Kiss opening that the different studio did. I know you know the one I'm talking about.
Hal Seeger did this.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so I remember watching that on free-to-air TV, on Cartoon Network, just the general. Hey, in this half an hour block, just Looney Tunes, and then later on, the same thing happened here, where the two channels split between Cartoon Network and Boomerang, and of course, Boomerang had the Looney Tunes and so on.
When I was a kid, I mean, they had cable. Cable existed, but it was mainly if you had bad reception. So they didn't have their own stations for everything, except HBO was probably in existence. I think that started 1972, 50 years ago. But even then, they didn't do much original programming. They just basically played movies, and then later started getting TV specials of comedians doing their stand-up act and stuff like that. But I don't want to do the HBO story. But anyway, in my personal viewing habits, they had what you're talking about. Yeah, they did show the Porky Pig show is in syndication, and that was on the local daily runs, and they would also show just a random assortment of Looney Tunes like you're talking about. And then the weekends on Saturday morning, CBS would show. Originally, it was a version of the Bugs Bunny show, which originally aired in prime time in the early 60s. And they recut it for Saturday morning, and they originally called it just the Bugs Bunny show again. Then they did, somewhere along the line, the network did the Roadrunner show. Then they flopped them together and called it the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show. Then they made it 90 minutes, and so they made it the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner. It was a Bugs Bunny Roadrunner hour, because they made it 60, and then they made it 90, and they made it show again. And then there's a Daffy Duck show, and there's a Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, and all that stuff that went on the networks for years and years and years. But somewhere along the line, the mid-70s, I mean, the offensive ones that we've already talked about with stereotypes and stuff have pretty much long left the TV waves by the time I was a kid. Exceptions being, they didn't seem to care too much about Native American stuff even when I was a kid, so that was still playing.
Even in the 90s for me. Even in the 90s.
Some Asian stereotypes are still on, not so much in Bugs Bunny cartoons, but in things like Mr. Magoo cartoons and Dick Tracy cartoons and things like that. And then, but the big push in the mid-70s that they started censoring, and it really annoyed me, was of violence. Now, I didn't mind it if they cut something, if it didn't hurt the story. I mean, I didn't like it that they cut anything, but for example, the one I remember well that they cut, long-haired hair. See, I do know some of the titles. With the opera singer who's named Jones, and they cut out all the part where Bugs dresses as the 1940s Bobby Sox. It's like, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones. Can I have your autograph? And it's a stick of dynamite and blows up. Cutting that sequence out didn't really hurt the cartoon. It just made it shorter. You still understood the basic idea. Bugs seeking revenge. Bugs ends up at Hollywood Bowl and gets his revenge. If you haven't seen it, that's the shorthand version of it.
Yeah, of course.
See that cartoon, very good. Anyway, but the one, and I think we might have talked about it either off or on one of our recordings, and I always forget the name of it, but it's the one where they're building a freeway, and Bugs refuses to move his hole, and so the punchline is
homeless,
they end up
homeless hair.
What? Homeless hair.
Homeless hair.
Yeah, and they have this tough guy construction worker, but they cut it so awkwardly. They might as well have not shown the cartoon at all, because it made absolutely no sense the way they cut it. They would cut out every explosion, and so you'd see the guy walking with a bunch of pipes under his arm, and then the next scene he would be all disheveled and the pipes laying on the ground. It's like, okay.
Oh, exactly. The funniest example of that you mentioned, my good friend Manny Cruz. Hi, Manny. So he's a frequent collaborator on the channel, and he's a music expert, masters of music and all that. He pointed out to me, I don't know if you're familiar with the Bob Clampett short Africa Squeaks.
Yeah.
Okay. he said to me the funny thing about that one, and then when he got the Porky 101 set, that was the first cartoon he went to because he remembered watching it when he was younger, and it was just so short, and it was like this. It was just so unusual. And then when he watched the full thing with all the African native stereotypes and the end song with Kay Kaiser and all that, it's like, oh, that's why they. But so, and it's just an example of, as you just said, well, why show it at all? I mean, seriously, if you removed all the stereotypes of that cartoon, you just have a couple of little spot gags and you're done. Just didn't really make any sense. It's a shame, actually. That cartoon's got one of the best renditions of Congo I've heard, but that's another thing entirely. It's really good. If you close your eyes and listen to it, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Another thing that was funny back in the 70s, and I actually had to check with my dad, and he was with me that day, watching this. They did a news report just talking about the basic banned Bugs Bunny ones, and we're talking about the more racist ones, Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And they showed a few clips from it, and it showed like the Good Rumor Man, and he gives them the ice pop with explosives inside and things like that. And it's like, I even though I was watching it in front of sitting next to my dad, I asked my dad, I said, they really make these things? It's like, was that real? Because I thought they were joking. I thought, even though it was the news, I was a kid, I was an older kid, but still, I wasn't quite sure if they were just making it up. And he goes, oh no, they showed those are in the theater. It's like, you get, and my dad's still around. He's 85 in a few months. But when he was a kid, he'd go to the movie theater and he saw all these things. And he says, the Japanese and the Germans, they were evil guys, and they didn't pull any punches, the movies, the cartoons, everything. You stood in the movie theater and did the Star Spangled Banner. They'd play it in the movie theater and things like that. And it's like, wow, it's like really patriotic. I mean, and he goes, everything was on rationing. I don't know how Australia operated. I assume it's similar to how Britain operated, I guess. I don't know. Because
it was more or less,
even though not much fighting occurred down there, I guess a little bit did, but not to the extent of Europe and north
Darwin,
of where you are. What?
Yeah, Darwin had some bombings by the Japanese, and there were a few subs noticed in Sydney. But aside from that, generally speaking, it was next to nothing.
Yeah, in comparison to, say, Europe or something, which had, of course, the most extensive damage. Even the United States remained relatively unscathed, apart from, say, Pearl Harbor and a couple other spots. But
exactly.
But
exactly. But when I watched them, that's right. Because when I watched those race ones, because I did cover all the World War II cartoons before I had to, take a lot of them down. Although some are still the ones in the public domain. I think Norm McCabe's last short, one of the most racist ones ever made, is still up if you guys want to see it. But it's a fascinating as a time capsule. I was watching it immediately when I watched them all in a row. I did get kind of sick and tired of the war themes. Like, okay, although it's not as bad as watching all the buddies in a row. I mean, I don't think I'd wish on my worst enemies. I mean, that's an endurance test right there, to watch all the buddies in a row and some of the early Merry Melodies. Actually, you pray for the Merry Melodies because you just wanted a break from the buddies, as bland as those early Merry Melodies were. I actually recommend people, if they're going to start watching the Looney Tunes, I mean, the first 100, or at least first 100 or so up until Avery's first short, I would say don't even bother with those unless you have to see them all. For the casual person who wants to watch the best, start from Avery and finish, I don't know, late 50s, I suppose.
Yeah.
It would take. And then you can go back and, torture yourself, I suppose. But, I mean, there's some fascinating stuff in the early stuff, like I discovered, director Earl Duvall. He made a few actually decent buddies, and then apparently he got fired because he got drunk, was into a drunken argument with Leon Schlesinger. I learned all this stuff. That's why I love doing the channel as well. It forces me, and I say that like it's a bad thing, but it makes me research more. And the more I learn about these things, I'm like, wow, Earl Duvall was trying to make the early buddies like Popeye. Like, if you watch some of them, you got the buddy, you got Big Brute, and you got Cookie, who's like the Ollie Boyle-esque character, and you could see that's what he was trying to do with it. But then,
Yeah.
you know, and Honeymoon Hotel was pretty good as well. And yeah, Jack King, he's made easily the best Buddies Bearcats. I mean, I'll defend that one because at least it's just crazy. But then it shows how bland Buddy was as a character, because all the good stuff was stuff around Buddy. It was a similar problem that Disney had with Mickey, but at least Mickey is still more appealing. But Buddy's just, well, Buddy.
He's just Buddy.
Yeah.
Well, it went back in the days when I was proposing that Warner Brothers released them all. I was thinking that precise thing, that if you actually started from 1930 and released them like one set per year of 1 year, first of all, it'd take you 40 years to do it, but also the first 5 sets would be dreadfully dull and average, unless you're a animation historian purist and just like, oh my god, these are pristine, you know. And so my proposal at the time was they could do it where they do 2 years at once, and they would take like 1930 and release it with 1950, and then keep going 31, 51. So by the time you got up to 1949, you're at 1969. So the opposite end is not the really great cartoons, but at least one of the 2 years would be good, you know.
Yeah,
and then you have 20 sets, and then my thought was, well, you got to put them out more than once a year. It'd take 20 years to do this, so it's like maybe do 3 or 4 sets a year. But you know, I don't know. Ever since I got my set, I don't really care so much. I just figure, you know, if there's a new, like, I still haven't got the Bugs Bunny Blu-ray set that came out last year. I want to get it, and it's actually come down in price. I just haven't
worth it.
I just haven't got it yet, because I was thinking maybe they'll put it out without the Funko Pop. Maybe. Well, they haven't, but the price came down, so I will get it, you know.
Well, the good thing about that set is you can open it up, and inside is a nice slip-cased, well, I think slip-case, or well, it's a regular Blu-ray, so you could basically just take out the Funko Pop, sell it, and that's what some people have done. I mean, I've kept mine because I'm an idiot, but but that set is really top notch. It even has this beautiful 1-hour documentary about the history of Bugs Bunny, where, okay, you and I would watch it, we'd probably not learn anything new, but it's nice to sometimes just watch it, just
but
chill.
It's well made. It's well made.
It's very well made. Okay. I mean, I think Constantine Nasser did that one, and you know, if you see
I know him.
If you see Constantine Nasser on it, you know it's a good documentary. He's done some excellent work.
I worked with him. I don't know if you had. I think you talked about this last time we were talking. Is the Patty Freeling collections?
Yes. Yep.
So if you see me on any of the little documentaries, that was recorded one hot summer day. I'm dressed with a tie and a suit, so but it's like I think I had shorts on it. But the secrets of the whole thing. Unfortunately, his house is air conditioned, but it was sweltering that day. It was very hot. And I came in there and basically did seemed like I did like 2 hours worth of material, answering questions, giving introductions, doing all sorts of things that Greg Ford could later use for later documentaries. And he used that material for like 3 or 4 years after that, and but that was the one time I met Constantine. Then I found out he writes articles for this magazine called Little Shop of Horrors, and has a big knowledge of movie history and everything else. So he's not just a camera person. And
he's done a few commentaries as well. I think he did a few commentaries on the Bugs Bunny set as well, and so he's definitely a knowledgeable fellow, and he seems like a nice guy too. For seeing a few of his comments on Cartoon Research, but no, like I said, I mean, I'm looking over there because it's basically over there. I'll even twist the camera to show everyone they can have a look. So there it is. There. I mean, it's a little bit messy. I'm going to buy a new shelf to put on top, but. That's my PS5. Please don't steal it. I also own this Red and Stimpy cell. I'm trying to get the right camera. It's probably not going to work out too well. I'll try my best.
Is that an original cell, or was
it's an original cell? Yep, it's an original cell. And I met Billy West had a signature, so I thought I'd save it on there. I do have a Ralph Bakshi cell right next to it. It's a bit on the controversial side. Do you want to show it anyway?
You can show anything on my show.
All right, there it is. There. So this one, like I sort of keep it as a. I don't share it around too often, but see with that one.
Which movie is that one from?
Coonskin. So already
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying something that's already
Yeah.
controversial. Now, the reason I picked that cell, as someone might look at it and go, oh, it looks racist and that, but no, I think it's a very powerful image of that's in one cell about race in America. That's why I picked it. It spoke to me, and of course his son Eddie. I think Eddie's his son's name. Asked me, "Do you want Ralph to sign?" I said, "Oh yeah, definitely get him to sign that." Because I got also a few original doodles that Ralph did. I'm a Ralph Bakshi fan. I mean, all of his films, warts and all. I mean, even his last film he did was pretty bad, but that wasn't his fault. The Cool World.
Cool World. It's hard to say that. Cool World.
yes, and I just think he's very interesting filmmaker. In fact, American Pop is probably one of my favorites animated movies of all time. Okay, the whole thing's rotoscope, but still, it's a great
I don't have
effect.
a problem with rotoscope. I mean, if you do have a problem with rotoscope, then why are you watching anything by Fleischer? Is like rotoscoped everything. Superman, Coco the Clown. What else? Probably some Betty Boop, I'm sure.
And I heard that there's some beautiful new 4K scans coming for some of that stuff, including Superman and that. And shame I'm not in the US. So I guess we can use your podcast as like a fundraiser to get me to America or something, so I can watch it.
But ship something out to you, but it's like I know postage is horrible. I shipped a book out to somebody. It's just one of my books, and $52 to ship it. It costs more than the book costs to ship it.
Well, I want to buy some more of your books. I really do. It's just I want to. If I do it through
it's
Amazon,
probably easier to go through like an Amazon than directly through me. But this guy wanted to sign one and stuff like that, and I agreed to do it. But it's like, oh wow, $52 to ship to Australia. That's a lot.
Well, I guess at least with me, I've actually got a for the purposes of shipping, I've actually got my own freight forwarding thing happening. So, if I get any books for you, I'll get you to probably just ship it there, and they can forward it to me. It'll be so much easier. But yeah, doing this channel and looking at all these cartoons in order. Jerry himself basically said to me when he was doing his book, you can show it here. That book, ta-da. He said to me they did not do it in order. Whoop.
It shows better under my shirt. There we go.
There we go. He said to me that him and Will Friedwald did not actually watch him in order. It was pretty much whatever they could get at the time when they would go to the place they were watching him. When they did the first edition, apparently it was just whatever they could scrounge up, and then for the second edition, they actually had more support from Warner's. At least that's how it told of me, and then they were able to watch better prints and revise a few things, etc. But he said to me, I'm probably the first person who's actually watching them in order and actually documenting the process in doing so. I'm sure I'm not the first person who has watched them in order.
Well, that
history or anything. Yeah.
Exactly. I just didn't do the notation, which now I kind of regret, but I always figured, well, I can watch them again. That's why I bought the set. I just haven't gone back to it. So
no, of course. And I was looking at YouTube, seeing was anyone else doing what I was thinking of doing. I did see Trevor Thompson was doing commentaries, but he was doing it in a different way. He was doing each one sort of individually, and which is fair enough. So he was doing that. And I thought, all right, here's my thing. I'm going to do something that no one's done. I'm going to have them all reviewed, and have 1,000 or so videos on YouTube. And plus I do year in reviews as well. So once I finish a year, so now I've actually recorded all of 1949. I'm going to be doing the 1949 year in review, where I basically list all the cartoons. I give a history of the year. I do my favorite shorts, my least favorite shorts, and boy, 1949 is going to be tricky to come up with the favorites. Least favorites are probably more easier, which is probably going to be in there, but who knows. And then I just do like this animation showcase at the end. And those videos have been proving probably the most popular to my reviews. So go figure. But it's just been a lot of fun. I mean, when you go on YouTube, if you're not having fun, some people want to go on YouTube to make money. This is actually true, right? But it's like, well, putting aside the fact you're not going to really make that much unless you've got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and you've got sponsors and all this sort of jazz, you're not going to make much. Just if you're doing it for fun and if you do want to get paid, the money will come. That's what
That reminds me, hit that subscribe button right there.
Yes, always say it, or you have to always
I do, but
remind my people.
I don't know. It's just kind of funny. One time I've been saying hit the subscribe button, and people go, "I don't want to pay money." It's like it doesn't cost money to hit the subscribe. So now I had become a free subscriber. I have to tell people that.
Subscribe button.
Like,
Some people mix it up between because YouTube has subscription, of course, which is free. Then you've also got paid membership that you can, once you reach a certain amount of subscribers, they allow you to offer memberships. So like, hey, pay $5 a month for this, $10 a month for this, $100 for a month for, I don't know, a topless picture of me. I don't know,
but of course I have a Patreon account, and then people confuse that. It's like not the same thing.
No, well, exactly right, exactly. But look, it's just been fun as long as one's having fun.
I wish I could make more money, please. Anyway, but
Well, I tell people if you want to go on YouTube to solely make money, do what everyone else does. Just go on TikTok, steal all the cat videos, make your own mashup of cat videos, and then go nuts. Okay,
yeah,
you'll make your money
that way. I thought about that too. I said, because you probably don't really go through my channel or anything like that. So I'll tell you, most of the videos on my channel, of course, are these podcasts, but the number one video that's on my channel, I don't know if you'll guess what it is, but I'll just tell you, it is Looney Tune related. I took the interview Pat Paulson did, the comedian, with Foghorn Leghorn and with Daffy Duck, sandwich, spliced them together and just put it up on YouTube, just because I figured, that's kind of rare. Not everybody's going to buy that comedy series, even though it came out on DVD. So here it is. And even the aforementioned book, they got it wrong in here, because they didn't know that there was 2 appearances. They only put 1. I think they mentioned the Foghorn Leghorn one, and they don't mention the Daffy Duck one. And I've talked to Jerry about it because we didn't even see it. We just heard about it. So it's like, yeah, I got it. So I mean, there could be an updated version of this, but now there's the internet and everything else, and people like us commentating on everything. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what Jerry said about what I'm doing. He was very encouraging of, what I'm doing. He loves to see more people, do this sort of stuff. So, especially now, I think Trevor's moved on to other things. So I've probably become one of the only few big Looney Tunes people and whatever. But I would love to hear more voices from other people. I mean, I say to people. Because I had someone ask me, I'm thinking of doing Looney Tunes and that, but you're doing this. I said, no, just do it. You're
there's plenty of people doing like Beatles commentaries, for example. It's like, or any sort of musician or whatever. So certainly,
exactly. Just do your own opinion. You've got your own opinion. You might love something that I hated, and I might have loved something and you hated it. Because I know with us too. I love book review, and you thought it was. That's okay.
I will put it this way about book review, and Jerry Beck knows this and stuff like that. I mean, it's like I don't like any of those ones, packaging and books. And he goes, but that one's so much better. We've had a little discussion about it. And I go, yeah, well, okay, it's better, but it still doesn't mean it's good. It just means it's the best of a trite, redundant one gag set of cartoons, in my opinion. I mean, it's like, it's the best of the lot, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
No, exactly, and that's why I told this person. I said, no, just do it. Like, let's hear your thoughts. In fact, when you get it done, let me know, and I'll come along and I'll check it out myself. Like. We should be helping each other.
That's always the weirdest thing about people, and it happens on YouTube. I mean, YouTube, but also Facebook all the time. And I have 2 Monkeys books and a Beatles book, where we give our opinions of songs. And some people write little critiques saying, "Well, they gave a thumbs down on this song that I really, really love," and it's like, well, it's like. If you don't like her, I wrote this in my Beatles opinion book called Mark Arnold Picks on the Beatles. I said, if you don't like my opinions, write your own book. It's like, I have no problem with that, So.
Exactly. Like, I've made it no secret, and I know some people who know me, if they're watching this, they're going to eye roll now, but I don't like Shrek at all, but I know it's beloved, right? But it's like, Big would be like, okay, if you love it so much, and yeah, like, do
Yeah.
your own channel about how much you love Shrek and that, and and some people are also really petty as well. Like I know when they did the 20th anniversary, which was last year of Shrek, a lot of people were doing tweets. Oh, I love Shrek, blah blah blah. It's like fine, whatever. I'm not going to say anything, but just the pettiness of some people would go, oh, I hate Shrek. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, but
there's one thing also I've heard recently, and this is in relation to Star Wars, but it can apply to anything, any fandom.
Star Wars, yes.
Because everybody has this attitude, you have to like and watch everything Star Wars. And it's like, I've come to the conclusion, I really, because of my age and everything, I really just like the 3 that were made in the 70s and 80s. Sorry, and it's like, I can watch the other ones, but I'm not actively seeking out the Mandalorian, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Boba Fett show, the other show. And it's like, I don't care that much. And people are like, oh, like you have to have like everything Star Wars or none of it at all. And somebody else put on Facebook, and I thought this was perfect, is I like my Star Wars a la carte. And I go, that's perfect, And I can say the same thing about Looney Tunes. I mean, my opinion of Looney Tunes is pretty much anything after the 1,000 that's discussed in the book, I really don't care about. Have I seen them? Yes. Sometimes multiple times, because when they used to do those rotten specials in the 70s, or it was like Bugs Bunny's Easter special or whatever, and they'd compile little shorts and they'd have brand new wraparound animation. Well, when there's no home video and you're desperate for Bugs Bunny, you'll watch it, but it's like, it's not very good stuff. But but even those recent ones that were made, you might be a big fan of them. Those Looney Tunes that were made they're on HBO Max now, and they're kind of in the style of Bob Clampett. And I've seen scenes from them, and I watched a few of them. And I go, yeah, they're good. Yeah, but I don't need to see. It's like, I like the old ones. And I keep thinking, is it just because I'm a crusty old fart, or is it just because I like what I like? And I think I kind of like what I like. I mean, I can watch new stuff. I just don't. It doesn't resonate the same way. And so,
Yeah, I'm having that problem now. You see, I'm only 37 and I'm already a crusty old man. But it's similar with comic books. I'm finding a lot of the newer stuff, while a lot of it's really well drawn, I'm finding that for the most part, there's some good stuff out there. I'm not saying it's all crap or anything, but I'm finding a lot of what I used to read, those titles, now they just don't appeal to me for whatever reason. Not necessarily because it's bad. It just doesn't feel like something. And I'm not going to go online and just start trashing that sort of stuff, because it's not bad. It's just not for me. I mean, look, with Star Wars, I watch pretty much anything Star Wars. In fact, if you look here, that's the 1:9 4K set, right? Which I guess that implies that I liked episodes 8 and 9. That seems to, that still makes me laugh that people get so angry about those. And it's like, okay, they stuffed those, in certain ways, yes, but just grow up, get a life, just.
I mean, I own episodes 1 through 9. I also own Rogue One and Solo and a few other things. But it's like, my go-to that I really like
those 3
were the ones that were made. And I hate calling them episode 4, 5, and 6, because they weren't called episode 4. It was called Star Wars. Sorry. And New Hope still bugs me after all these years. And I don't like the special editions. I like the way they look back then.
But this is what will blow your mind. See, with the special edition, here's the funny thing. See, growing up, I watched and taped, beautifully taped off television, and the original 3, the regular versions, and and I got the VHS that they said they were going to just release one last time, which I thought, yeah, right. That was my attitude. I think everyone's attitude is like, yeah, whatever. Then of course they announced a special edition, which is like, okay, so they have that and the old stuff, which of course never happened. Now, but those special editions do hold a nostalgic place in my heart, because those were the first times I've ever watched 4, 5, and 6. I'm sorry, I have to say it like that, because that's how the special editions are framed.
It's when you saw them first. I get it,
And that's my nostalgic thing. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that hate them and like, well, okay, fair enough. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But that's my nostalgia. Just like now, a lot of people are nostalgic for the prequels, because those were the first that they watched.
Yeah. I mean, I have a friend who's younger than you, and his favorite one is episode 1. And why? Because that was the first one he saw. And he
Yeah.
loved it. And it's like, okay, I
As
mean,
flawed as it was, yeah. I mean, that one desperately needed
yeah.
Marshall Lucas to fix, but that's another discussion entirely, because the
But I
editing
mean,
was just all over
you
the
can apply
place.
it
Yeah.
to everything, it's like cartoons and everything. It's like, and I'll take a look at this stuff. I mean, when Disney puts out new cartoons, I still kind of have a soft spot for keeping up with all the Disney and Pixar features. I find those interchangeable. So like when Turning Red came out, saw it immediately because I have Disney Plus, and then I bought the DVD, and I don't necessarily buy the Blu-rays, and I don't necessarily buy the 4Ks because I don't know. I don't need all the special features on the more recent. I'm more interested in special features on older cartoons.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So because nowadays, well, how did you do it? Well, I sat at my computer and Whereas in the old days, it's like you talk to people. It's like, yeah, I painted this and I drew it on this and I did, and this effect took forever with this special camera that doesn't exist anymore and blah blah
yeah,
blah.
the multiplane and all that
That
sort of stuff.
stuff
And
fascinates me because of how they had very limited um items to work with and came out with lush, beautiful cartoons and things like that.
exactly, like in Sleeping Beauty, not to derail it too much, but like in Sleeping Beauty, I saw this special feature about how they did the special effects animation. I'm thinking, imagine if that's your job, sitting there and all you do day in, day out is on every single frame, adding those up like pixie or fairy dust, wherever it is, on every single frame. I'm thinking, does that excite that person going to work here? I'm going to be.
Isn't that eventually what Byworks did? Is like he just did special effects work later on.
Well, he did, but no, the fairy dust was like frame by frame, individually done. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't know, I the patience to do that.
But incredible. For me, it's like that's what I'd like to watch a documentary about, because it's like it's fascinating because they make it look so effortless, and it's like it took a lot of
like 6 years or so. In fact, and even Chuck Jones was involved in Sleep Beauty at one point for like a brief moment, and it's just, I mean, that's why I actually own 4 editions of Sleeping Beauty, because they've all got different special features, So I buy them, but but for a good price, of course, But my next step is to look at some of the laser discs, because even some of the laser discs had special features that they never redid afterwards. I don't know why.
Difficult,
so that's how it is.
Well, hey, if you go back to our original subject of Looney Tunes, there's still some Looney Tunes that were on those laser discs that they never reissued later on. So, even the aforementioned Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips actually was on the Laserdisc, which is
until people complained and they had it pulled, and that one's now really sought after, as I understand, that one particular Laserdisc. So,
I remember seeing in the store. That was actually a format I never latched onto, even though I probably should have. But
they were massive. Like the discs were like that big.
Because it was like for video, it's like my dad got a Beta machine way back when in the 70s, and of course Beta was great, but unfortunately VHS is what took off, so I had to reluctantly switch over. Then when the disc form came out, I thought, wow, this is really neat and everything. But yeah, it was the size. It's like I just got rid of all my 12-inch records. I actually didn't, but I got rid of a lot of them because now compact discs were in. And I guess I was kind of presaging the DVD, because I was thinking, if they could figure out how to do one of these 12-inch laser discs the size of a CD, I'd be buying them left and right. And sure enough, when DVDs did come out, I just I basically took every VHS tape I had, turned them in this one store that was still buying them for a high price, and traded them in for DVDs.
Well, exactly.
No regrets. And that was like, right when DVDs first came out.
I remember my first DVD player was like huge. It was like this massive box and this one tiny little slit for the DVD.
Yeah, that was mine too.
And no progressive scan, it was just basic three color thing. And my very first DVD was well, it wasn't quite this, but I had the Planet of the Apes, because that's a complete
So you
set.
really dig on the Planet of the Apes.
So the first Planet of the Apes movie was the very first movie I watched. And then long after, I discovered that that you Americans were getting so much better DVD releases. I started learning how to import them, and that was fun. That was an adventure. Now it's too easy because I can just go through Amazon, but before it was a real adventure. That was so much fun. And that's how I got the first few waves of Disney Treasures. After a while, Amazon, I was able to get through them, so it made it easier. But that's what I did.
My first DVD was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and yes. I bought the DVD before I had a machine. So I had all these VHS tapes and one DVD, and I said, someday I will watch this. And there's this local store called Fry's Electronics, which unfortunately didn't make it through the pandemic. They actually closed all their locations in 2020 or 2021, and that's the end of them. But they used to have these incredible deals, and so they were advertising on the radio. I was just driving around, and they said, and we have a DVD player for $199. Now, when DVD players back then were like $700-800, to hear it being right under 200, I went,
yeah.
And I bought the last copy. They acted like they had about 10 of them or something on the commercial, and I got the last one. So everybody heard this ad and went and got it.
Of course, and nowadays in Australia you can get a Blu-ray player for $50. So
it's everything's cheaper too. So it's like
exactly.
But that was a big deal then. And the funny thing is, it was this Chinese knockoff brand called Conca. Yeah, I don't even think it wasn't like I think it was kind of supposed to sound like I don't know what other brand, it's just but
it sound authentic. I get you.
And it worked for a few years, and then it would do this really weird thing after it just was playing for a while. It would like rev up and speed up, and like it was going to overheat. And I said, about time for me to get another DVD player. So
I think so.
I swapped that out for a good one, and it's like, and it was a lot cheaper, and it did a lot more things.
I mean, that's why I got a PS5 so I can play 4K discs. So because I'm all about the high dynamic range and all this newfangled stuff that will probably take ages to get into. But technology evolves. But I wouldn't mind collecting some of the old Laserdiscs just for the collectability sake. I know my good friend Keith Scott, he's got heaps of those old Laserdiscs, and I said to him, you should seriously look into just converting some of that stuff to DVD so you can have all those special features. But anyway, that's another thing entirely. So yeah.
I'm surprised people haven't uploaded some of that stuff to YouTube, because I have seen
some things I have.
Yeah.
Some things I have. I know that there's a special edition of Terminator 2 where they had like this extreme mode, that's what they called it, interactive mode, and someone actually put up the whole thing on YouTube, and I'm like, I better download that before someone, deletes it, because otherwise I've got to do it myself, and that's gonna be annoying. So.
Right. So you mentioned this on one of your shows or after it or whatever. It's like after you get done with these 1,000 Looney Tunes, you're going to tackle one of the other studios or something. What were you going to pursue after this?
Oof. I honestly don't know.
I thought you said something definite. Okay,
I'm thinking MGM.
Okay.
Because I love Tom and Jerry, and of course Tex Avery, and that. See, the plan is once I finally redo all the old commentaries I have to take down, because that'll take a while. So I figure I'm up to the good stuff now in the early 50s. Now I'm up to the early 50s, right? So I figure while I'm doing that, I can redo the old stuff, and then by the time I do all the old stuff, then I should be at a point in the 50s where it's going to be hit or miss, where it'll be either formulaic, bland, fantastic, or just bad, right? So it'll be one of those three. And at that point, I can then do those and then cover a new studio at the same time. So I can do the good stuff and the meh stuff kind of thing, mix it up. So maybe MGM, I'm thinking. Wouldn't mind covering like the 30s Disney stuff, because a lot of that stuff I think just gets so overlooked, especially Silly Symphonies, and about how if it wasn't for the Silly Symphony series, you wouldn't have Snow White. Of course, you wouldn't have the animation as we know it today. But then there's also Popeye. I would love to, but I don't feel as though I'm too much of a Fleischer expert. I think I feel as though I got to be more in tune with those. But They'll be good to cover. I don't think I'd do Woody Woodpecker, at least for a long time, because I tried watching that Blu-ray that came out recently, and it's I haven't even finished it. That's how much I
Oh,
just
really?
like.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed that, but I would say that's about the extent of Walter Lantz cartoons I'd want. Maybe about a disc more of it, because there's so many not so good Walter Lantz cartoons. I hate to say, I know other people are like, "Oh, I love Woody Woodpecker." It's like, do you really love all Woody Woodpecker, or do you just love, that's
Do you love the early 70s stuff? If you love the early 70s stuff, then
yeah,
you're a true
yeah.
Woody Woodpecker fan.
I mean, I have all that stuff. There's a time when Columbia Disc Club did the Woody Woodpecker show, and the quality of the prints varies, but Jerry Beck was in charge of that, and so I snapped those up, and I think those are long out of print too. So I got a lot of that stuff. Now you mentioned MGM. Is a lot of that stuff available? Because I mean, it seems like there's the situation other than Tom and Jerry and Tex Avery. The other stuff is kind of hard to come by, isn't it?
Yeah, Me TV have done restorations. There's Barney Bear restorations and that.
Okay.
So there are stuff out there. Plus, if you're looking at stuff beforehand, like I know Peace on Earth has been restored.
Yeah.
So harmonizings, that's that sort of stuff. There's a lot of that out there. Plus, you've got people like Steve Stanchfield scanning.
Well, that's true.
A lot
I
of
mean,
that stuff.
if you said like on the Looney Tunes, if people sent you stuff, certainly you can fill in the gaps, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. Exactly. So, and of course I always give proper credit. So if someone says me a scan that's not official, of course I always, give proper credit. Like,
Right.
which is which. I used Steve's scan, but I did give proper credit, and of course link to his shop and all that sort of stuff, because I think that's, hey, I got to give credit where credit's due,
Yeah. Now, are there any cartoons that you know about that you haven't seen or that you'd like to see?
Well, honestly, the Patty Freeling stuff, because I recently bought, as you know, because it was the price was so good, I couldn't pass them up. And honestly, I already had the Pink Panthers. I knew of the Inspector. I just hadn't gotten around to getting it. But the other stuff, I honestly never really saw. The interesting thing, though, was the Tijuana Toads. I think, and one of the other series, but especially Tijuana Toads, my parents, because they came from the former Yugoslavia, so Croatia, former Yugoslavia, and they were telling me that stuff would play constantly there, like Tijuana Toads. It was huge over there. I don't know why, but it was. So it's like, hey, can I borrow this? I said, yeah, but it's region A and we're region B, so I got to actually rip these from the disc in order to actually play them. I hate region coding sucks, but anyway, I want to watch all those depraved feelings. Yes, even the latest stuff when they outsource to other studios and cheapen the budgets even further, that kind of stuff. But I want to see more of that sort of stuff. There's a few Flintstone spin-offs I still haven't seen. I'm a huge Flintstones fan, so some of the spin-offs I just never seen at all, including the last few that Alan Reed did before he passed. I know they've released some of the primetime specials later on, and I know they released Pebbles and Bam Bam, but they haven't released the other stuff, and I just want to see some of it. I'm not saying they're going to be any good, but I just want to see them, What else? I'm just looking at my collection, seeing what else is
kind
there.
of funny. A lot of the stuff you said, I've seen it all just because I either saw it when it originally aired, or I did the research because I did my Patty Freeling book. So it's like, I've seen all that stuff, so it's kind of interesting. But a lot of that stuff is worth seeing. Probably the hardest Flintstones thing currently is maybe the Alice in Wonderland special, but I have a copy of it. But
yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
I can always ask around. Just looking at my collection, I'm just thinking what else is there.
Unless you're talking about like Fruity Pebbles commercials or something like that.
Oh yeah. The real deep cuts right there.
But I mean, of proper half-hour shows or whatever. It's like.
Oh, exactly. What else? Yeah, it's just look. I mean, I would love to see. Some of the earlier Hanna-Barbera stuff I've not seen. Like you mentioned, Rough and Ready. I've not seen that because that's part of that's probably just wasn't available. To watch, but I really want to see those. I haven't seen all of the Quick Draw McGraws because, again, I think due to music rights, I haven't released it, but I have them all now, so I'm going to be watching them. And I do have the HD versions of Yogi Bear, so I wouldn't mind revisiting those because HBO Max has got the HD version, so I've got those. Some of the later Huckleberry Hounds, I've only got the volume 1 that reads. Like I don't have the rest of them. So and I actually saw a lot of that stuff as a kid. I just don't think I've seen all of them. That's the thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to go back and just now watch them all.
Like I don't even know if I've seen all of Huckleberry Hound, but I used to watch it regularly during the 70s and 80s when it was commonly aired. So it's like maybe I saw it, but like I said, you wouldn't know if they censored something or banned something or removed something or whatever, because they didn't talk about it much back then. So they just didn't put it on.
Exactly right. And the stuff I do have, I hope that sometimes they revisit it. Like Top Cat, it's a great set, but the restoration on that is very questionable. I mean, I think it's the 60th anniversary this year, 2022. I think it came out in 62, didn't it? So I'm hoping. I think it was 62
or 61. Was it 61?
I thought it was 62. I could be wrong.
No, I mean, Jetsons was 62 because they did one a year. So Flintstones was 60, Top Cat was 61.
I'll just
Jetsons
double check.
I could be wrong.
Let's have a look.
I wasn't even alive then, because I saw this.
Yes. Okay, 61 to 62. So we were both.
Okay. All right.
We're both right in a sense. Okay, so it overlapped both years. That's probably why
I thought Warner Archives would do a remastered version like they did for Jetsons and Johnny Quest. They didn't.
Yeah, they should, unless it needs a lot more work. But who knows? Who knows what to do? But
I still need to get that Johnny Quest one, but I haven't. Everybody says get it because it has censored bits on it. So I was like.
Plus, it looks beautiful in high definition. But that's. And I haven't actually finished that set either. That's how far behind I am with a lot of things. So I really need to just take a month off completely from everything and just watch nothing but cartoons. Now that's bliss, Like for some people, it's about a round the world airplane trip. No, for me, it's 1 month of no distractions. Watch everything I need to see.
That's right.
And make sure I exercise. I'm going to make sure I exercise half an hour each of those days. Otherwise, I'll be seeing my butt the entire time. But
Now, is this the only thing you do in life? I mean, if you feel comfortable, talk about what you do. Rest of your life.
Of course, as you saw before, I was interrupted by my family, so I've also got a family. I also run an online comic book store, so so that's how I make my living. And of course, my wife works; she's got her job, she's a childcare worker. So, I'm finally doing stuff that I'm enjoying. I'm the kind of person that I can actually get bored very easily. I believe it or not, which sounds kind of weird thinking, well, hang on, how can you watch all the buddies? But, that's another thing entirely. But when it comes to work, I just find I used to work full-time jobs and that. And what would happen is I would work, I'd be professional. I will still be professional even towards the very end, but I would inadvertently make all these mistakes. I think just deep down, I'm just bored. So I think it's just the way I am wired or whatever it is. So, so now I do multiple things for income and that helps. It sounds weird. I do that. I also do certain errands here and there. Like I'm an independent contractor. So I do my shop. I do this, I do that. Plus the channel, I do make some money out of it. Not much, but some money. So, for someone like me, it's perfect rather than, the good old 9 to 5, but
right. I'm with you. I still do the 9 to 5, but I work in healthcare, which I actually prefer because they're a little more tolerant of, I'll agree with you. I've done the same situation where I've made mistakes and it's considered the end of the world at every other company. And it's like, I can fix it. It's not that big a deal. Well, you're fired anyway. It's like, okay, whatever, but the way they are in my current line of is working in healthcare, and they get it. They understand. It's like people are human. They make mistakes, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable. And it's a job that, I don't have to take home with me. And so as soon as I sign out at the end of the day, I'm at home doing a podcast like this, or writing on my books, or reading comics, or watching TV, or whatever. I'm not taking the job home. So I totally get
it. Exactly. But you got to do what you got to do. But I figure if I have to work, I'm gonna do my darndest to make sure it's on my terms as much as humanly possible. It ain't perfect. I don't have paid time off or anything like that. So if I get sick, it's all on me, speaking of healthcare, but But thankfully, okay, I'm not trying to rub it in, because we have universal healthcare, but at least I got that going for me. So, at least it's not too bad.
Hey. So, before we go, anything else you'd like to cover?
No, I think we've covered a lot, which is good. I like it. So no, I'm I can't wait. I hope you'll come back on, whether it's you or just you or with Camden. On more. I mean, hey, look where I'm now. Not even 50. I mean, I'm soon going to see who's going to be joining me on some of these wonderful shorts. So, I was trying to get some new faces as well. And Camden's got a few ideas for other people as well. So, I think it's great. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
And you can come back on the show, of course. And,
of course,
I could have Camden with us or anybody else, Mark Cousler, I've had him. If we want to keep it all Australian for a day, Keith Scott or whatever, I've had him on the show.
Yeah. Good old Keith. I talked to him a lot. He's such a great guy. And I will point one thing about Keith before we go. The book that he's coming out with, he says, unless there's been a delay since I've spoken to him, that's supposed to be coming out this year. It's about voice actors. That is going to be gold. That's going to set the record straight on so many things. Because on Rover's Rival, I said that Robert C. Bruce voiced the old dog, but he pointed out, no, Robert C. Bruce actually wasn't in LA at that time. He was in 1938, whatever. But in my defense, as I point out in the review, I got that info from, of all things, Mel Blanc, the man of 1,000 voices, because Robert C. Bruce was credited on that. So hopefully this book can set the record straight and. But no, he's been very helpful. And
I think when I had Keith on the show, which was about 6 months ago or something, he was still in the midst of it. And I don't even know if he talked about it much because it was still a little hush-hush, but I've heard more about it since then. So, I know he's
coming. There's no definitive date, though. So I'm not going to say, right, it's going to come out this date. When it happens, it happens. Because obviously the man's got to also, like us, he's got to work. He does his stand-up routines and entertainment routines on cruise ships and so on. And I mean, I actually just a bit quick aside about Keith. I actually first encountered him. We had a show called Hey It's Saturday. It was basically a Saturday night variety show, and I actually saw him, but I didn't know who he was. I saw this funny guy doing voices, and then years later I realized, oh, it's that guy. I love that guy. I mean, I love his Robert De Niro, by the way. So maybe when you bring him on next time to speak like Robert De Niro the entire time. And
he did a few impersonations. He did a few voices. I could encourage him to do more. So yes.
If you watch my 500th, because I actually did the 500th review, which is Easter eggs with him. I actually did it with him, right? And he did the happy postman character, the East Bunny's based off, and he's like, only 500 more to go. Keep smiling. And that was beautiful. I love that. That was fantastic. I was over the moon when he did that. I didn't ask him; he just did it. And it's such a nice man. It really is.
I'll have to have him back. But he was asking me, ironically, about getting a book done. He says, "How do you do it, Mark?" Because I've written a lot of books. And I said, the only advice I can give, and it's helped him out, strangely enough, is if you're writing a book and it seems tedious and a chore, just set aside a little time every day to work on it. Don't work on it like big marathon 12-hour sessions. Just do it an hour or two every day. Eventually it'll get done, and there's some days where even I don't like working on my books, but, usually I try to, do a little bit every day. So eventually, I go, hey, it's a month later, and I got this much more done. So.
and my kids are back. They're probably hungry. So
all right, so we're wrapping this up anyway. So I guess the last question is, if people want to get a hold of you or reach out to you, what's the best way?
Just look up Anthony's Animation Talk on YouTube, and all the details are on there. That's the best way to do it.
All right.
That's my son as well, who's actually been on 1-2 commentaries, funnily enough, and so is my daughter. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been a enjoyable, lighthearted show here, and hello, kids.
Yeah, lighthearted indeed.
2 kids. Okay.
I like my hat.
And, like your hat. And anyway, we've had an enjoyable time here with Anthony Kotorac on the Fun Ideas podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Say bye.
Bye.